In just the last few years, NASA has seen things no human eye was ever meant to witness. Machines the size of a small car, drifting hundreds of millions of miles from home, have sent back images that quietly rewrote the textbooks. Oceans hidden beneath sheets of ice, volcanoes taller than any mountain on Earth, a star we finally dared to touch, and galaxies that, by every rule we thought we knew, should not exist at all. None of this came from imagination. It came from data, from cold, patient instruments staring into the dark, long after the rest of us looked away. So before you scroll on, take a breath, and let me show you what NASA actually found out there, because some of it's beautiful, and some of it should probably keep you up at night. It began with a mirror of gold, unfolding a million miles from Earth. The James Webb Space Telescope was the most powerful eye humanity had ever built, designed to look further back in time than anything before it. Light is slow in cosmic terms. When Webb stares into deep space, it is not seeing the universe as it is now. It is seeing the past. The further it looks, the older the light, until it reaches the faint glow of the very first galaxies switching on after the Big Bang. And when Webb opened its eye on that ancient darkness, it found a problem. Galaxies, enormous, mature, well-formed galaxies, sitting in a region of the early universe that should have held almost nothing but scattered gas. Their light had traveled for more than 13 billion years to reach us. We were seeing them as they looked just a few hundred million years after the universe began, but they were too big, too bright, too organized to exist so soon. By our best models of how matter clumps together, there simply had not been enough time for these galaxies to grow. Some astronomers called them impossible. Whole teams went back to check the math, certain there had been a mistake. There was no mistake. The galaxies were real, which means something about our story of how the cosmos grew up is incomplete. Webb did not just hand us a beautiful photograph. It handed us a crack in the foundation of everything we thought we knew about the dawn of time. Closer to home, a spacecraft called Juno turned its cameras toward a small moon orbiting Jupiter. Its name is Io, and it is the most volcanically active world we have ever found anywhere. As Juno swept just a few thousand miles above the surface, it captured the closest images of Io in a generation, and what came back looked less like a moon and more like a vision of a tortured world. The surface is a violent canvas of yellow, orange, red, and black, repainted constantly by hundreds of active volcanoes. Some of them throw towering plumes of sulfur and ash dozens of miles up, so high they almost escape into space. There are lakes of glowing molten rock wide enough to swallow an entire city, shining in the dark like open wounds. And here's the reason for all of it. Io is trapped in a gravitational tug of war between Jupiter and its sister moons. As it orbits, it is squeezed and stretched, kneaded like dough again and again until the friction deep inside heats its core to melting. There is no rest here, not for a single hour in a billion years. From a quarter of a billion miles away, NASA watched an entire world burn itself alive and could do nothing but record the fire. Not far from that burning moon circles another, and it may be the single best place in the solar system to search for a life. It is called Europa. From the outside, it looks frozen and lifeless. A smooth, pale ball of cracked white ice, scarred by long reddish lines like veins across a frozen eye. For decades, we assumed it was dead. We were wrong. Beneath that icy shell lies a secret that changes the entire conversation about life beyond Earth. An ocean, not a pond, not a lake, but a vast global ocean of liquid salt water, sealed under miles of ice, and holding perhaps twice as much water as every ocean on Earth combined. The same brutal gravity that tortures Io keeps Europa's hidden sea warm and liquid. And using its telescopes, NASA has detected carbon dioxide rising from that buried ocean, carbon that appears to come from the water itself. Carbon, liquid water, and energy. On Earth, that is the recipe for life. So we built a machine to go, and look, Europa Clipper is on its way right now. A spacecraft that will swing past the moon again and again, flying straight through the faint plumes of vapor that erupt from its cracks. It will not land, it will not drill, but it will taste the breath of an alien ocean and carry home an answer to the oldest question we have ever asked. Are we alone? Further out, beyond the asteroid belt and the storms of Jupiter, NASA Cassini's spacecraft spent years circling Saturn, and they had found a moon unlike any other in the solar system, Titan. It is the second largest moon we know of, bigger even than the planet Mercury, and it is the only other place we have ever found with rivers, rainfall, and seas on its surface. But on Titan, it does not rain water. It is far too cold for that. At the surface, the temperature drops to nearly 300 degrees below zero. There, methane and ethane gases here on Earth flow as cold liquid. Cassini's radar pierced through Titan's thick orange haze and revealed enormous dark seas near its poles, fed by branching rivers, hidden under drifting clouds. It is an alien echo of our own planet, a complete weather cycle running on liquid fuel instead of water. And below that frozen surface, scientists believe there may be yet another buried ocean of liquid water, much like Europa's. Titan is so strange and so promising that NASA is now building a mission unlike anything it has ever flown. Its name is Dragonfly, not a rover, but a nuclear-powered drone, a flying machine that will lift off through Titan's dense air and hop from place to place across the dunes, sampling the chemistry that may come just before the spark of life. We are, quite literally, sending a helicopter to another world. On the surface of Mars, a robot the size of a car has been driving slowly through an ancient riverbed. Its name is Perseverance. Billions of years ago, this place was not the rust-colored desert we see today. Water flowed here. A river spilled into a lake, carrying mud and minerals, exactly the kind of environment where life on Earth first took hold. Today it is dust and wind and silence. But in a spot the team named Chayava Falls, Perseverance found something that stopped scientists cold. A pale rock, threaded with veins of minerals and scattered across its surface. Dozens of tiny spots, each one ringed by a dark border, like the spots on a leopard. On Earth, markings exactly like these are often the fingerprints of microbial life left behind as ancient bacteria fed on the chemistry locked inside the stone. This is not proof. It is possible these patterns form through ordinary chemistry with no life involved at all. The scientists are careful to say so, but it is, without question, the most compelling potential sign of ancient life that any mission has ever found on Mars. That single rock is now sealed inside a sterile tube, resting on the Martian surface, waiting. NASA plan is to one day send another mission to collect it and carry it across the void back to Earth, where we can finally hold it in our hands and learn whether this red and lonely world was ever truly empty. And then there is the star at the center of it all. For 60 years, scientists dreamed of flying a spacecraft close enough to touch the sun. The dream always died on the same simple, unforgiving fact: anything that gets too close should melt long before it arrives. But NASA refused to let that be the end of the story. Engineers built a probe and wrapped its instruments in a heat shield of reinforced carbon, just a few inches thick, designed to hold steady while its sun-facing side glowed at thousands of degrees. Then they aimed it directly into the fire. The Parker Solar Probe dove through the sun's outer atmosphere, a region called the corona. Traveling at more than 400,000 miles per hour, it became the fastest object human beings have ever built. It survived heat that would vaporize ordinary steel in moments, and through all of it, it kept calmly sending data back across the solar system. For the very first time in history, a machine from Earth flew inside the atmosphere of a star. It passed through the solar wind at its source, sampled the particles streaming off the sun, and helped answer mysteries that had puzzled physicists for a century. We did not simply study our star from a safe and respectful distance. We reached out across 90 million miles, and we touched it. After all of this, after the impossible galaxies, the burning moon, the hidden ocean, and the fire of the sun, NASA is turning its attention back to a world we have already walked on. It has been more than 50 years since a human last stood on the lunar surface, but the moon we are returning to is not the one Apollo left behind. We now know it is not the bone-dry, dead rock we once imagined. There is water there, real water, frozen as ice in the floors of deep craters near the poles, in shadows so permanent that sunlight has not reached them in billions of years. And that single discovery changes everything. Water can be split into breathable oxygen and into hydrogen for rocket fuel. It means a crew would not have to carry every drop with them from Earth. It means the moon could become a place not just to visit, but to stay. This is the heart of the Artemis program. NASA is preparing to send astronauts back to the lunar surface, and this time, the goal is not to plant a flag and leave. The goal is to build a base, a foothold, the first permanent human presence on another world, and a proving ground for the technologies that will one day carry us further still. Because the moon, this time, was never really the destination. It is the doorway, and just beyond it waits Mars. Every one of these discoveries began the same way, with a question no one could answer, a machine built to chase it, and the simple, stubborn courage to send that machine into the dark with no promise it would ever come back. We are a strange species. We cannot stop looking up. We pour our years and our genius into reaching places we will almost certainly never set foot on, just to know what is there. And again, the universe answers us. Not with silence, but with wonders stranger and more beautiful than anything we dared to imagine. This was what NASA found. Now imagine what it finds next. And when it does, you will hear about it right here.